Hello, everybody. I'm Valerie Green, love coach, and I help women inspire their men to deeper love, intimacy, and commitment to meeting their deepest needs and desires. And you are in the webinar, Lasting Love, How to Attract, Reignite, and Sustain Passionate Partnership. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know that you're the type of person who really values showing up and taking action to improve your relationship. And I really admire that. So before we get started, I want to share a few logistics. Let me just get my reflection over there. So first of all, Webinar Jam is running a lot of bandwidth on your computer. So if you could just stop running other programs in the background, because that will, allow the slides to show up with crystal clarity. And if the slides become blurry, it might mean that your internet connection is slowed, or that you're running other programs or downloading videos or playing other things in the background. So you might want to quit those, and then the slides should get clear again. Secondly, we're going to be doing a valuable exercise. So I encourage you to have a pen and paper handy, or you can open a note application in your computer to take notes later, because you'll want to take lots of notes. And that doesn't take a lot of the bandwidth. And also there's a chat box on the right-hand side here, so I encourage you to write your questions in. And I might not get to all of the questions or most of the questions until the end, unless you have a question about the exercise that we're doing, in which case I'm happy to look at it while we're doing the exercises, because I want to make sure that everything is really clear. And so you really want to stay until the end for two reasons. First of all, I am going to try to get to everyone's questions at the end. And this is a really great time to bring up anything that's been frustrating you or confusing you about your relationship, and get some expert advice and feedback, because I know how frustrating it is to not know how to get traction towards what you want in your relationship. So this is a great opportunity to ask me your questions. And secondly, at the end, I'm going to make two special offers. One for one-on-one support with me at no cost, and the other is a really easy opportunity for you to transform your relationship. So I can't wait to share that with you at the end. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing some slides here, and I want you to hold tight here. There you go. So this is the right place for you if you're single or married and you're feeling unfulfilled in your love life. If you're single or dating, you keep attracting unavailable guys that are unwilling to commit, and I've certainly been there. And excuse the sirens in the background, I'm in New York City here. And if you're married, the passion and romance has fizzled, and you long for the early days where he was attentive and affectionate and would do anything for you. So if you experience any of these things, you might be delighted to get some perspective that, first of all, you're normal. And these are normal issues that many, many women experience, because they don't teach us in school, right? And maybe our parents weren't the best role models of a joyful, loving relationship. So where are we going to learn the skills to create lasting love? So that's where I and this webinar come in. So now you know you're in the right place, because these are the issues that we're going to address tonight to get your love life back on track. So can we breathe a sigh of relief? So now that we know a little bit about you, I'd like to share a little bit about me, because you might be wondering, who am I, and why am I so excited about sharing the secrets about lasting love? So I've definitely been obsessed with relationships my whole life. I was, reading relationship books as a teenager, trying to figure out how to have great relationships. But of course, I missed a bunch of stuff. So in my 20s, I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, and that was the time where we were taught that men and women are the same, right? And so I treated men the way that I would treat my girlfriends, and we were equals, which I do believe we are still. But I didn't really know the differences between men and women, and I wound up misinterpreting him, making him wrong, and I would also try to manage and control things because I'm smart and I wanted to, I knew the best way that he should be doing things. And I would just wonder why we would start out great in the beginning, but then the romance and passion would fizzle. And this happened during the first long-term relationships I had in my 20s, and I was really dedicated to fixing this because I wanted to dedicate myself. I started coaching about 12 years ago, and I started out by doing nutritional coaching, but I would have clients that would come to me for their relationship issues. And so I just started studying with the world's top relationship experts and learning how to really, heal your emotions and communicate better. And I would use these tools in the trenches with my clients and with my relationships over the past 12 years. But the biggest shift happened for me a few years ago with my partner because we were caught in a cycle of push and pull where I was getting demanding and he was withdrawing, and I knew that if I didn't fix this, that our relationship would end. And so I dove fully into studying with the world's top relationship experts, and I really used these tools in my relationship, and I developed a system initially just for me to transform our intimacy. And then of course the system wound up working for my clients too. But I really learned at that point to stop speaking my mind and instead really learn to tune into the wisdom in my heart and hear my inner guidance and communicate with him from my heart in an inspiring way. And I really learned how to, stop telling him what to do and instead share my deeper feelings in an inspiring way, in a vulnerable way, to get into me see, which is intimacy. And I stopped really trying to manage things, and instead I turned my attention to what made me feel good and started really doing more self-care. And then I could tell what needed to be done, and I could speak to him about my desires in a way that inspired him. And it worked like magic to be able to help him to show up totally differently. And he started stepping up and doing more and being more affectionate with me, wanting to spend more time with me, taking me out on romantic dates again. And our sex life actually came alive again. And so when I took all those skills and I created a system for women, the same results happened for them over the past few years. And so their boyfriends or husbands started stepping up more and, taking them away for the weekend and, proposing to them if they were dating, or if they were married, he would actually start sending those sweet love notes saying, I miss you, and, giving her the romantic eyes again. And she said she felt wanted and desired again. And so it's not just my story. This is really the story of so many clients that I've worked with. And so this can happen for you too. And so in this webinar, I'm going to share some of the most valuable secrets with you for how to inspire your man to step up and want to make you happy. And so now I'm going to share a slide presentation. And so I encourage you to take notes. And then, like I said, you can type in your questions on the right, and I'm happy to answer them, especially at the end. But I'm also going to be reading them when we're doing the exercises. So here we go. So I'm just going to make this full screen here. Okay, great. So here's what you'll discover in this webinar. So how to recognize when your relationship is in trouble, and how to reignite the intimacy and passion. The two deadly mistakes that most women make that pushes your man farther away. And this is not to make you wrong. It's just to highlight some of the ways that you can transform how he's responding to you and show up differently. How to mesmerize any man by tapping into the power of your unique and feminine energy. The exact words to say to show your feelings in a way that draws him closer instead of pushing him away. And this is even if he's resistant to having the relationship conversation. And the most important mindset shift that motivates men to commit to love that lasts a lifetime. And like I said, we'll be doing special Q&A at the end, so I look forward to really interacting with you and seeing how all of this applies to your unique situation. So, okay. So let's discover now, here's what it looks like when your relationship is disconnected. So basically, this is how you tell. These are some of the signs that a lot of women come to me with, and that I certainly experienced in my own relationships. And I call it the sizzle that fizzled. Dun, dun, dun. So the first sign is that the romance has tanked. So whether you're just dating or you've been married for years, gone are the days where he brings you flowers, plans special time together, or calls or texts just to say, I miss you. And sure, you can begrudgingly tell a man what you expect from him, but isn't there a big difference between that and his just wanting to do it all on his own because he loves you and he's excited about you that much? Because that is what you deserve, isn't it? So instead, now when you spend time together, it feels like his mind is somewhere else. You don't feel that spark of attraction anymore. When he touches you, it doesn't feel warm and passionate anymore. It feels like he's guarding his heart. And if you're having sex, it feels disconnected. These are all the signs that definitely used to happen to me. You miss when he used to look you deeply in your eyes when you were spending time with him. And now there's just a coldness in the way that he looks at you, and there's an awkward tension in the air. And no matter what you do for him or how sweet and nice you are, he doesn't seem to be that into you anymore. And I know because these are the signs, like I said, that a lot of women come to me with, and I've definitely experienced them. How about you? So this is how most of my clients speak about their relationships when I first speak to them. So this happens to many, many women. And it's not your fault. It's not his fault either, though I'm not excusing his behavior. I mean, this guy on the couch really should just notice that she's unsatisfied, right? But the truth is that men are actually responding to the way that we're showing up, that we have a lot of power over how he shows up, and I'm going to share that with you later. So let's go on to sign number 2, that your relationship is in trouble. He's always busy. So if you're married, he seems more interested in work or TV or going to sleep than spending time with you. So if you're having that experience, then there definitely is something wrong. If you're dating, you feel like he's dragging you along and you're not sure where the relationship is headed. Because if he was really inspired by you, you wouldn't feel that way. Or if you're single, you keep attracting men who passionately pursue you in the beginning and then disappear. And what's up with that, right? You deserve someone who sees how great you are long term. So trust me, if you're here, I know you're great. Do you know why? Because you're someone who cares. You're committed to showing up, to making things work, to being the best partner and person that you can be. And once you tap into your feminine magnetism, then your guy is going to recognize that. And if he doesn't, then and you're just dating, then he's not the right guy for you. So I'm going to talk about that later. But if you're married, then there's some deeper things that he needs. And we're going to talk about that later too. So sign number 3 that your relationship is in trouble is that you feel anxious, lonely, and insecure. Because in a secure relationship, partners know how to really comfort and soothe each other, and you both feel secure. And that's definitely what the clients that I work with have purported that they get out of the coaching, that they feel secure because there's certain practices that couples can do to help soothe each other's insecurities. But if your relationship is in trouble, you're going to feel all alone. And, even more lonely than you did when you were alone, because nothing you do seems to please him anymore. Or if you're dating, he doesn't seem that into you, so you start to doubt yourself. You feel less attractive, and you worry that there's something wrong with you, that maybe there's another woman, or that you'll say or do the wrong thing, and maybe he'll leave you. And you can feel really overwhelmed by crazy emotions, by fear or anger or jealousy or sadness or loneliness or even despair. And then the angrier you get, and who could blame you at this point, right? When you let him know how you feel, the more distant he gets. And then you get angrier and your relationship spirals. Where? Downwards, of course. Or else he dismisses your feelings and you've been stuffing your feelings so deep down inside of you that you aren't even sure what you feel anymore. So I know this all sounds really tough, and I promise that I'm going to bring you up back soon enough. But we just need to get clear here on what's going on first, right? So my intention is that by seeing how common this all is, you'll know that you're not alone, that many other women feel this too. And the solutions are easy too, because once you've worked through all the issues that the other couples that I've worked with work through, they can work for you too, and you're going to feel secure again, because it is possible. So I'd like you to ask yourself, which of these three have resonated most for you? Has the romance fizzled? Is he always busy? Or are you feeling emotionally overloaded? So I'd like you to take a moment and consider which ones resonate for you the most. And like I said, I hear from women I work with all the time that this dynamic shifts within a matter of weeks when they implement the tools in my system. So for example, I worked with a client, Thea, who was caught in a dynamic with her husband where she felt undesired, unappreciated, and criticized by her husband. That's the exact words that she used when she first emailed me. She would get defensive and they would frequently argue or feel distant around each other. So after learning the tool that I'll teach you shortly for sharing her feelings and needs in an inspiring way, and really implementing the other emotional healing tools that I'll mention later, she said, "I'm so grateful that my relationship with my husband is feeling better and better. Saturday, he took me on a wonderful date to a delicious restaurant, and we flirted and we enjoyed playful intimacy that we both felt very much in our bodies and connected and fun. And he made breakfast for me yesterday and watched our daughter while I went to the movies with a girlfriend. And he made a wonderful dinner I enjoyed when I came home. We enjoy such a better quality of life now." So when she compared how he showed up then to how he shows up now, and that was just a short while ago, she said, "Funny, when I get a really nice text from him, I don't recognize it as from him. It's like, I wonder who wrote this. I don't even know that man." So that's how a relationship can turn itself around using the tools that I'm going to share with you tonight. But before I do, I really want to help you to get what doesn't work. Because most women feel so frustrated when their relationship is disconnected that unknowingly we make it worse. So I want to make sure that you avoid the two mistakes that women make that can push him farther away. And if you're single, you'll get insights about what hasn't worked in the past so that you can shift them and attract lasting love. These behaviors feel so natural to us, and they're exactly the behaviors that push him away more. These are definitely the behaviors that I used to do that would sabotage my man's romantic feelings. And I see women doing these all the time. So here they are, so you can stop doing them right away. And then I'll share for you what to do instead to reignite his romantic feelings for you. So the first mistake is sweeping it under the carpet, pretending it's okay or giving more. So, of course, you want to be understanding of his need for space and that he's busy or stressed about work. You want to just act fun and nice so he'll want to be with you. And that's good. It's just that when you're too understanding when he's not meeting your needs, he actually experiences you as being insecure because he can sense that you're not satisfied, but he doesn't know why. And he wonders why you're just going along with it. So this occurs to him as that you're hiding something, and he just won't feel comfortable being around you. If he doesn't call, you might call him because you understand how busy he is. Or when he doesn't pick up after himself, you just do everything for him. You might cook his favorite meal for him or make the plans for him because you want to be a good wife or girlfriend and assume that he'll then give back to you in return, which is definitely what I used to do. Only it doesn't work that way, because when a man receives too much nurturing from a woman, it reminds him of this lady, his mom, and that's just not sexy. All you're trying to do is be nice, but that actually doesn't inspire him, and he just feels disconnected. Because believe it or not, most men actually want to make you happy. But since he senses that you're not happy and he doesn't know what he can successfully do to make you happy, then he'll focus his energy on what he can be successful at, like work, or rooting for the winning sports team, or his hobbies, and not paying more attention to you. And did you know that that's because of what science shows? That testosterone wires men's brains to seek the experience of success more than anything else. It's a deep need within him that makes him a man. And I know, of course, we want to be successful too, but the more testosterone a person has, and men have like, what, 40 times the testosterone as a woman, the more testosterone someone has, the more they're wired to be successful. Women have testosterone too, of course. Men just have more. And so men will often do whatever they can to attain that feeling of success. Now, that's not a conflict. The conflict is when he doesn't see how he can make you happy, so he'll look to feel successful elsewhere. So I know, you're probably saying, but he does know how to make me happy. I've told him how. He just doesn't listen, right? Well, in that case, you're probably making the second mistake when you communicate your desires, which we'll talk about in a minute. So this is not to make you wrong. It's just to show you what doesn't work and why. It's not your fault that you haven't learned the right skills yet to inspire him. What he needs is to feel your authentic feelings and desires so that he'll be inspired to step up and meet them. But most women make the second mistake when they try to tell a man what they want, and that just pushes him away more. So, mistake number 2 is making him wrong or being too direct by telling him what to do. So, here's why this doesn't work. Now, I do want to say that it's good to share your desires in the way that we'll be talking about later. But when we tell him what to do, it's like this. So you want more affection, you want more compliments, you want him to open up more, you want him to do more romantic things. I certainly used to do this with partners ahead in my 20s, like, be more romantic. And that's actually not inspiring. Or you want him to call more. But when you try to direct a man, both of you feel disrespected. You felt unsatisfied to begin with because you have to ask for something like a compliment, right? And he feels not good enough because you're not satisfied with what he was doing. So remember I said that men want to feel successful in making the woman that they're with happy. So why isn't he stepping up and making you happy? Well, you're probably expressing your feelings and needs in a way where he feels made wrong. And this causes him to feel criticized and disrespected. And then he can't do the things you're asking for because he just feels so bad in your presence that he wants to get away from that bad feeling. So let me explain more. So I'm going to give you a crash course in figuring out how a man operates, better than most men even know about themselves. So from the time that they're born, the hormonal and physiological differences in men cause most men to be sensitive to feeling shame and inadequacy, although they're probably not even aware of this because they stuff it down, so they just don't want to feel like I'm failing. So when a woman complains or tells a man that she's unhappy about something, he's likely to hear, I'm failing, I'm not good enough as a partner. And he doesn't want to be around you because when he is, he feels like a failure. So then it just kind of shuts his nervous system down, and then he actually can't hear what you're saying. I know it sounds weird, but this is just what happens for men. They're not aware that they're feeling shame, because they're probably avoiding it. So if you point out, oh yeah, you're just feeling ashamed, he's not gonna say, oh yeah, I am. He's probably just gonna fight with you or get defensive or try to make you wrong because he's defending himself against feeling that he's wrong, and then you just get in an argument. So the thing to do is just to know that this is what triggers him when you tell him what to do, or when, because then he hears that he's not doing it right, or when you tell him that he's doing something wrong, or even if you say, well, why didn't you do that, or you should do it this way, or demand something. He's very sensitive to being mothered or managed or controlled because he's going to feel like you're making him wrong. So I'll teach you how to turn this around. First, I'll just explain a little bit about what really does motivate men. So men really value being providers. That doesn't just mean that he wants to provide for you financially. It gives men a huge amount of joy and pleasure to be the one providing for the woman that he loves. If he takes you out to a movie, for example, on an emotional level, he feels as if he wrote the movie script and starred in it. He kind of takes ownership for the entire experience when he's with you. When you like the meal at the restaurant, he feels like he cooked it on an emotional level. So when you compliment the movie or the meal, he feels like you're complimenting him and who he is. I know it seems kind of arrogant, but it's actually a good thing, because if you appreciate what he provides, that just lights up his life the same way that when he considers your feelings, it lights you up. I know I'm speaking in generalities here, but this is what I've found really works for 90% of men and 90% of women. So when we try to tell him what to do, he feels criticized and inadequate and disrespected. And he might not even know why he feels distant, but he doesn't feel inspired to connect with you or want to make you happy. Because men need respect like a fish needs water. And that's even if you think that you're being helpful. Like if you try to tell him how to load the dishwasher or when to do the chores, and trust me, I used to do that, he'll hear that as nagging and actually resist doing that because he feels mothered. It's like you're saying, I don't trust you to do it right, which is my way. And he feels disrespected. So you might be wondering, okay, so I get that, but how do I ask for what I want without disrespecting him? And we'll do an exercise around that in a few minutes. So for now, I'd like you to think for a moment, how do you tell him, or if you're single, how have you told your partners what it is that you want? And what insights are you learning so far? So you can take a moment and write that down. And feel free to share your insights in the chat if you want. So now I want to let you know that you can turn this around very quickly. I've created a system that I call the Manifest Lasting Love system, and it helps women to turn their relationships around in a matter of weeks and have men step up and want to meet your needs without nagging or telling him what to do. Because when you show up differently, he's going to respond to you differently. We women have a lot of power over the emotional culture in our relationships. So I want to tell you about Lucy, a client that I worked with, because her story is really indicative of the story that a lot of women have. So Lucy was complaining when she first came to me that she had to do all the work around the house, clean and cook and take care of the kids on top of both her and her husband working. And it really seemed like her husband didn't care, and he wouldn't participate unless she told him what to do. And even then, she had to remind him to do it. So is that sounding familiar to any of you? She didn't believe me that if she stopped doing everything, that he would do anything. So I taught her how to relate to her emotions totally differently. And I really helped her to learn all the ways that she'd been making her husband wrong without even knowing it, which was very enlightening. She didn't realize how much she was making him wrong, even if she didn't say anything, because body language is so important. So I taught her how to relate to her emotions totally differently. I told her to feel her feelings, to just pause throughout the day, feel her more vulnerable feelings like sadness and longing, and to start connecting to her needs for partnership and support and self-care. So she stopped doing everything and she started nurturing herself. She started getting nurturing from other women in her life. So she stopped resenting her husband and she started appreciating him for every little thing that he did do, like anything. I mean, if he like put his shoes away, she would just say how much she felt supported. You know, she would just thank him for getting up early to go to work, even though it was earlier than her and it was difficult. And she was shocked when he started stepping up more and listening to her feelings once he didn't feel made wrong for them. And then they had conversations about how they could delegate and take care of the work together. Now, of course, it didn't happen overnight, but once she started relating to her emotions differently, the relationship transformed in a matter of weeks. And now she feels cherished and adored again, and the romance is alive once again. So Lucy followed all the steps in the Manifest Lasting Love system. And if knowing those is going to help you in your relationship too, I'm going to give the steps of the system to you in a few minutes. So right now, I'm going to teach you a couple of valuable tools that you can use right away to inspire men with your feminine magnetism. And that's feeling and sharing your feelings in the right way. Because men don't usually have anyone in their lives who they can open up to, right? When men hang out with their guy friends, they don't sit around talking about feelings, right? And probably he can't share his feelings at work unless, you know, he's a therapist and gets therapy from other therapists. But unless it's that case, he doesn't really have anyone else in his life that he can share his feelings with. So when a woman shares her feelings, he really finds it mesmerizing and alluring. Because feelings are one of the keys of feminine energy that entrances men and ignites his romantic desire and passion for you. So this is the way to communicate with him and receive more of what you want instead of pushing him away by criticizing and directing. So if you let him into the depth of your emotions in a way that doesn't make him wrong, but invites him deeper into your into me see, he goes from being in his head to being more in his heart, because he can finally feel safe to let his guard down and just be himself. And that's the prerequisite for him to even be able to consider what he's feeling for you. So if in the past he's felt criticized or managed, this is how you begin to re-inspire his devotion to making you happy. So if you share your feelings and just saying the word feeling and a feeling word, not sharing your thoughts, like, I feel like you didn't do what you're supposed to do. That's a thought, right? But sharing your feelings, like, I feel sad, I feel mad, I feel tired, I feel icky, and can you just stand here with me? Because that would make me feel better. He's going to want to do what's going to please you because you're not making him wrong. Then you can be cherished for who you are instead of what you're doing. This is what your husband or boyfriend wants, to adore you for who you are. I know it doesn't seem that way, but that's because you haven't really learned all of the steps of how to express your feelings in a way that inspires him. Because men also feel blindsided if we just share our feelings out of nowhere, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. He really just wants to do things that please you, and he wants to be appreciated for it. So when you share your feelings in an inspiring way, I just want to say that he really feels like you're as beautiful as the sun and the moon and the stars. This is just the enchanting effect that feelings have. And I'll give some examples of this in a minute. So if you are dating, he's going to see that you're secure in himself. And he'll want to step up his game so another man doesn't claim you first. That is, if he's the right man for you. And if he's not, then this attitude of self-assuredness of sharing your feelings and being receptive is going to allow you to attract the right man for you. And if you're in a committed relationship, then sharing your feelings, especially your positive feelings, but also your challenging feelings, is really what touches a man's heart and makes him want to do what's going to make you feel better. All right. So now I'm going to lead you through a powerful exercise to share your feelings in a way that's magnetic and feminine and inspiring. So grab a pen and paper or open up a note in your computer. And I'd like you to think of the last time that you had a strong feeling that you wanted to express to your man, and either you expressed it or you held it back because you knew it would start an argument. So it could be about something that he did or didn't do, or it could be a time that you really felt frustrated about something else and you wanted him to listen to you and he blew you off. So just remember any time that you really had a strong feeling that you wanted to express or that you did express and it pushed him away. And if you're single, then you can just invent a problem from your future relationship. Just kidding. Think of an example from your last relationship. So I'll give you a moment or so to write that down. Okay. So if you didn't get the result you want, something is off. And I want to help you to get it back on track. There's no problem sharing your feelings with your girlfriends, right? So it's not that he doesn't want to give you what you want. It's that he's hearing that he's doing something wrong, or he's upset at you for something else, or maybe it wasn't good timing for him. So now I'm going to talk about how to share your feelings using the 5-step process that I call the manifest lasting love conversation. 5 steps to share your feelings in an inspiring way. So for anyone who has my e-guide, I introduced it there, but here I'm going to go deeper so that you can apply this even more powerfully and experience the shifts in your relationship, whether you're just dating or whether you've been married for years. So first, I'm going to share an example of how it's different between me sharing my feelings in an inspiring way versus in a critical way. And I'm going to exaggerate it, of course, for the sake of the explanation. And this is also the example I use in the e-guide, so you might remember it. But this is very common, right? So let's say that your man keeps texting other people while he's out on dates with you, and you feel angry because you think that's disrespectful. Totally, okay for you to feel that way. So here's 2 ways of sharing that. The first way is to share your judgments and criticize him and tell him what to do, right? So I'm going to exaggerate this, but I've certainly said these kind of things before too. So I might say, I'm sitting there being frustrated and I say, "Ugh, you always text other people when you're out with me. That's so disrespectful. Can you just put the phone away for an hour and spend time with me?" So, I mean, of course, it makes sense why you'd feel that way. But he's likely to feel controlled and defensive, and even if he puts the phone away, he'll be less inspired to connect with you. Or you can share the same experience that you're having, but you can share your softer feelings, which are always there underneath the anger, and not make him wrong. So here's me using the manifest lasting love conversation, and then I'll break it down into steps. So I would say something, I'm still sitting there feeling angry, but I could also feel just my discomfort underneath. And so I would say something like, "Can I share something with you?" And then, he might be busy, so I'll wait till he says yes, which he will in a minute. And then I would say, "It just feels so good to take time away from our busy lives and connect with each other. I miss when we used to go out to dinner and feel like we were the only 2 people in the room. It feels so good to feel your undivided attention on me. So as I sit here, I really feel uncomfortable because I miss feeling you here with me. So what's going on for you?" Now, of course, he might get defensive and blow you off. And I do have a whole flow chart for what to do in that situation, because the manifest lasting love conversation is just about how to share your feelings. There's other steps after this. But I mean, the paradigm shift around that is that I'm going to share in a minute is then there's something going on for him that you can listen to, but that doesn't stop you from wanting him to listen to you too. So you can listen to him and be like, "Totally get it, like it's not a big deal. But, would you be willing to put the phone down? And how do you feel about us just having private time together?" And so you're asking for what you want, but you're not making him wrong. You're really sharing. So you notice how what I did was I shared my desire, which was my desire for what I wanted to experience. And I shared my feelings. I didn't say anything about him. I shared my discomfort for just sitting there feeling like I missed feeling his attention on me. I wasn't being demanding with it, and I was just sharing into me see. So that's what we're gonna practice. I'm not saying this alone is gonna guarantee that he's gonna listen to you, but I would like you to try it and see what happens, because I guarantee that when your guy is in a mood where he can listen to you, that this really works to have him show up and be more caring and supportive and wanna make you happy. So let's go over all the steps. So first of all, tone of voice is so key. So you notice how in the first example, I was making him wrong just with my tone of voice. So body language and tone of voice are actually over 90% of what is communicated, not just the words, right? So I really want to emphasize that. So there's 5 steps to the manifest lasting love conversation. And step 1 is to share your positive feelings every day, no matter how small. So when you share your positive feelings on a daily basis, then he'll feel like he's winning with you. And then remember how important that is for men to feel like they're winning. So then he'll be open to hearing your challenging feelings without feeling like he's failing, if it's already in a context of things going well. I mean, my partner tells me this all the time. If I start complaining about something, then because I appreciate him so often, the first thing he usually says to me is, but I thought things were going really well. And I'm like, they are. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he's able to hear whatever I'm complaining about. Um, because that's the context in which your positive feelings occur. So the point is to really make sure to say, wow, thank you. Is he a good financial provider? Is he a good father? Does he do little things for you? Does he make any plans for you or the family? And how is he meeting your needs, even if it's in a small way? And if this is your previous relationship, what did he do that you didn't appreciate him for? So this isn't to make you feel bad. It's to learn new skills and start applying them with the men in your life now. So I want to just say, I mean, a lot of women have this objection, like, do I really have to appreciate him for like taking out the garbage when he said he would do it? I mean, that's just something he said he would do. The thing is that men need to be appreciated for everything, because he's always needing that feeling of being successful. And so if you give it to him, then that actually motivates him to do even more. And a lot of women think, well, I mean, why should I have to tell him when he's doing well? Like, he should just know. But that's a little bit like a guy saying, why should I have to tell her that I love her? She should already know. Because that's just the different needs that men and women have. Men really need to feel like they're succeeding, and women really need to feel like they're loved and adored and cherished. And so those are just the different vulnerabilities that we have. And so when you appreciate him on a daily basis, then he's going to be open to hearing your challenging feelings and when you bring them up. So that's the first step. So just go ahead and write down something that you can appreciate your partner for. Doesn't matter how small. And if you're single, then you can think of something you can appreciate someone else in your life for, because we can never get too much appreciation, right? Okay, so step 2 is to ask if it's a good time to talk, because men are single focused and they're going to feel blindsided if you share your feelings without him being in the right space. So I love that this quote by one of my teachers that said, men's emotions are like women's sexuality. You can't be too direct too quickly. So, you can't just say your emotions out of nowhere, just like you wouldn't want him to grab your pussy out of nowhere, current political issues aside. Okay, so anyway, it helps to share a positive intention first to create the context. Something like, hey, honey, it would feel really good to talk about something that's bothering me so we can work through it and feel more connected. When's a good time? So then you're really letting him know what would feel good to you. You're telling him how to make you feel good, but you're not demanding it now. You're asking him when's a good time. So this is kind of the opposite of saying something like, we need to talk. So can you just tell how your intention there is that it's going to be difficult and something challenging, and then he's going to hear that, and then he's not going to want to have the conversation. So just take a moment to think of a time when you shared your feelings at a bad time for him. Maybe he was hunched in front of the computer or in front of the TV and he blew you off. And just take a moment to think about what might have been going on for him and how he might have responded differently if you said something like, "Hey, honey, it would feel really good for me to talk about something important to me so we could work through it. So when's a good time for you?" And then when it is a good time, he's going to give you his full attention. So when the conversation starts, it's really good, but to repeat your intention. So do you want to work through an issue? Because men really do want to know what it is you want to get out of the conversation. Then he'll want to provide it. Do you want him to give you advice? Because most men give you advice by default. So if you just want him to listen to your feelings, then tell him, "I'd love for you to just listen to my feelings and, to comfort me and soothe me or give me reassurance. And that'll help me feel better." So that usually is necessary if that's all you want. Um, because when you expect the conversation to go well, it usually does. So you really tell him what you want to get out of it. He can provide it then. So step number 3 is, when it's a good time, you're starting the conversation, take responsibility for your feelings and desires without blaming him. So basically take the you out of it. Just talk about yourself. Don't talk about him. Mention your feelings. So let's say you were going to say, you're sitting there and he said he would call and he didn't. So the next time you see him and you want to share something, I mean, this is if it happens a lot. Obviously, you don't want to say that every time, but you might say something like, "When I was sitting by the phone waiting, I felt lonely." Because this draws him into your experience. You notice I didn't mention anything about him. I said, "When I was sitting by the phone waiting, I felt lonely." You can say your desires like, "I'd like to feel more connected to you." So you're not telling him what to do, and you're not mentioning him. You're not saying, "When you didn't call me, I felt lonely," right? So do you notice how if you start with talking about him and what he did or didn't do, then you're making him wrong? I know it's really subtle, but that's all he's going to hear, and then he'll get defensive, start defending himself, start making you wrong because he's defending himself, and then you'll get into an argument versus just saying, "Into me, see," right? So we want to invite him to see the depth and beauty of our inner experience, because this is a display of our unguarded femininity, which is mesmerizing for a man, as long as we make it about ourselves and not about him. Because most of the time we show our thoughts, not our feelings, right? Feelings are words like sad, mad, glad, scared, lonely, confused, uncomfortable, upset. So in my Manifest Lasting Love system, I give a whole cheat sheet of feelings to say that inspire a man. So I'll give you another example, and then I'd like you to look at what you wrote down and translate it into just your feelings and desires. So notice the difference between when I say, "I feel sad because I miss you and I want to spend more time with you." So that's just owning your feelings and your desires versus saying, "You don't make enough time for me anymore." Right? So then I'm just talking about him and what he's not doing. So that's just much more likely to allow him to listen to my feelings and to honor them and then to want to give me more of what I want. And it's also okay to talk about your desires without telling him what to do. So notice how I just said, "I want to feel more connected," right? Connection is a pure experience versus telling him what he needs to do. Like, "I want you to call me more," or "I want you to spend more time with me." That's telling him what to do, as opposed to, "I would like to feel more connected to you." And just saying what it is that you want to experience. So that's step 3. You're just saying what it is that you want to experience. So I'll give you a moment to write that down. to kind of translate what you wrote down into just your feelings and desires. And I also give a whole cheat sheet in my system about desires or emotional needs that you can share as desires that can inspire your man instead of telling him what to do. So take what you said and just try to translate it. And if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat box. All right, I'll keep going, but you can keep working on that. So step 4 is to ask him what he thinks. Because men don't usually talk about their feelings, but they definitely have thoughts. So you want to know what's going on for him, or what does he think about what you said? So this is good because most men want to solve problems. So he's probably going to suggest something. If you just say, hey, I want to feel more connected to you, what do you think? He'll be like, sure. How can we make that happen? And if he doesn't, then there's something else going on for him. So then you can listen to him. It's really hard for most women to understand, but think about it. Where in his life does a man feel truly heard and listened to? Because, like I said, when a man hangs out with his buddies, they don't usually talk about their deeper feelings and deeper inner perspectives like women do. So he really needs the woman in his life to listen on a deep level to help him see and understand himself more deeply. So when he's speaking about his thoughts, if you really look him deeply in the eyes, even try to breathe with him, and don't interrupt him until he finishes his thoughts, this is something that feels awkward between men, but when a woman does it, it has an enchanting effect that can win a man's heart faster than you think. So try it. And when he's speaking, and you can just say, I hear you. Even if you don't agree with what he's saying, say, I hear you first. Not, I hear you and I don't agree. But you can say, I hear you and it makes sense of what it is that you want. And okay, I have a desire too. How can we have both? So you're just allowing him to, you're holding and taking a stand for there being a win-win between what he's wanting and between what you're wanting. And then you can collaborate on a solution. So that's sort of the meat of the conversation. And like I said, I have a whole flow chart for how to collaborate on win-win solutions. But this manifest conversation is a great start to be able to share your feelings in a way that he can hear them. And step number 5 is to appreciate him. What did he do what did he provide for you in this conversation? And really let him know anything that feels good, because remember, if he feels like, even if the conversation wasn't enjoyable and you didn't get that much out of it, if you just say thank you for taking the time to talk to me, it makes such a difference to know that you value our time together enough to talk through these things, even if it doesn't feel good. He's going to want to do more of it next time because he provided something for you. So you can say something like, thanks for listening to me. If you got a lot out of it, then you can really appreciate him and say that you felt so heard and you feel so much more connected to him. And a lot of times we feel those things but don't say them. And like I said, that's kind of like a man feeling love for you but not saying it. It's like we need him to say it, right? And he needs us to say what feels good. Or if you want to collaborate, you can say, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Let's come up with a solution together. I really feel like we can do this as a team, which is going to create the context for him to put his problem solving skills into the light. And you'd be amazed by how many creative solutions people come up with if they feel like they're in the same team. And also remember to appreciate yourself, because this can feel like learning a new language. And it is. It's the manifest lasting love language. So here's the 5 steps again, if you want to write them down, is to make sure you're saying your feelings in a positive context, asking if it's a good time, intimacy with your feelings and desires, asking him what he thinks, listening, collaborating, and appreciating him. So here's basically a template, and you can write this down too. It would feel good to talk about blank so we can work through it together and feel more connected. Is now a good time? And then wait till it is. And set up the conversation, you know, hey, this is great. Let's work through this together. I feel I would love to experience more. And then what do you think? When he speaks, you can say, I hear you. How can we create something together? And then thank you. It is simple. Obviously, it's not easy. But, you know, obviously, this is just one of the tools for how to have a connected conversation. Of course, you don't have to use every part of it for every conversation, right? So like, for example, if you're already sharing your positive feelings a lot, then there's no need for step one. If, you know, there's no need to like share extra positive feelings before you share your challenging feelings. If like you're already in the middle of a conversation, he's already engaged with you, right? But he will appreciate you for telling him what you want to get out of the conversation. Always. Men always enjoy context. It's like, oh, wait, what does she want me to do? What does she want to get out of this conversation? Why is she sharing her feelings? Because men just don't have as much context for feelings. When men share their feelings with each other, it's because they want a problem solved. So if that's not what you want, then you have to tell him what it is that you would like. So I'd love for you to experiment and notice how your man responds when you express your feelings and desires in an intimacy way, and then ask him what he thinks. So you might be wondering, well, what if he doesn't want to give me what I want? And of course, that's a great question because lots of relationship programs teach you how to ask for what you want. But they may not teach you what men need in order to want to give you what you want. Because what really inspires a man to want to move mountains in order to please you? Because men are very focused on what they want. Men will go to war, they'll move across the world, and they'll make huge sacrifices to get the things that they want in their life. If a man is really into you and really thinks you're the one, then he'll pursue you like a lion hunting a gazelle. But most women aren't taught the natural feminine ways of being that inspire a man to deeper love and intimacy. So we're led to think that it's about being thinner or sexier or funnier or more successful in our own lives. But actually, that's only a small part of what makes a man want to commit to you for a lifetime. Because beautiful, sexy, smart women are everywhere. He wants somebody whom he feels is the only woman for him. And it's really not our fault that we haven't been taught how to inspire that forever feeling in a man. But men don't decide to commit to you because it's rational or makes sense. It's a feeling in his gut that he's finally come home and that you're the only woman for him. I've spent years studying and working with thousands of men and women in relationships and worked with countless more women to inspire this feeling of devotion and captivation in men. And I can teach you how to make sure that he desires to claim you and stay devoted to your happiness more strongly than he desires freedom or space. Because there are specific things that men need on a daily basis to feel inspired and compelled to please you if he's the right man for you. And yes, he needs these things even more than sex. And if you're dating, there's a specific mindset that you need to have to tune into both your needs and give him what he needs for him to know that he's the man for you. So I'll share with you the most important mindset shift that I teach in the Manifest Lasting Love system that helps you tune into what both you need and what he needs to feel inspired that he is the right man for you and make a deeper commitment to your happiness, whether you're just dating and want him to propose to you or whether you're married and you really want him to prioritize your needs. So what is this mindset? Well, the mindset is collaboration, which I call, sorry, my phone's going off. The mindset is collaboration, and I teach this as the partnership mindset. And this is one of the key ingredients is what makes a man want to commit. Because when you tune into his needs as well as your needs, not just one or the other, then he sees you as integral to his purpose and success in life. And then he feels more powerful and capable with you than without you to be who he wants to be in the world. So this mindset shift is to always look at how to create a win-win with the man whenever you want something. So I call this collaborative mindset shift the partnership mindset. So if you share your feelings and he doesn't want to give you what you want, the key is to get curious about what he's wanting that he's not getting, and then inspire that win-win solution that meets both of your needs. So I'll share a really simple example of this partnership mindset and win-win solutions. Of course, it also works with more complex issues too, but I'll give you a simple example. So let's say you're needing attention or affection, for example, and he's needing space. And these needs seem to conflict on the surface, right? But there's a way to collaborate to get both, isn't there? So someone's saying this looks like a transaction. Yeah, okay. So thank you. It's definitely not a transaction. And let me share why it's not. Because it's not like I'll give you this if you give me that. It's really coming from the mindset that we all have universal needs. And I'm committed that there is always a win-win for me to get my needs met and him to get his needs met. Not like I'll give you yours if you give me mine. That's transactional. That's sort of like a tit for tat kind of mentality. This is that we will be in a relationship that is meeting both of our needs, and for us to really collaborate, like I'll support you and you'll support me. It's not like if you support me. And it's being committed that there's always a win-win. So I'll give you a really simple example, but I'm happy to answer your questions. And thanks for asking that, Pate. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Pape? Sorry if I mispronounced that, but that's a very common question. So basically, let's say that one of you needs affection or attention and the other one needs space. So we're actually going to talk about a win-win solution for us to get both. It's sort of like win-win or no deal. You know, you see how that's different from transactional. So, like, for example, I worked with a couple that had this as the problem that they had, that she needed to connect with him when she got home because that's what would really help her to unwind and feel more connected to him after a long day. And he really needed space when he got home because that really allowed him to transition from the busyness at workplace to connecting with her. And so they would fight about it every day. They would fight about it, and then they just grew distant because they couldn't realize how to make this work. So when we got deeper into both what they both needed, one partner needs space and the other partner needs connection, right? So space and connection don't inherently conflict, do they? Well, you can come up with a solution that meets both people's needs in the same day. So that's not transactional, it's both and. So the solution that they came up with was that he has some time to unwind when he first comes home, like a half hour or so, and then he comes downstairs and he's committed to connecting with her about her day and his day afterwards. So like I said, that was a simple example, but it really works for them, and actually a lot of couples, because a lot of men need transition time and a lot of women need to connect. So they can get both of their needs met in the same day. And this type of solution where both people get what they need to feel loved is possible once you focus on what you both need, and not just what you need and not just what he needs, but both. So obviously there's more complex examples, and I'm happy to answer your questions about that later. And like I said, I have a whole flow chart for how to have the kind of conversation that comes up with win-win solutions. So when you're aware of your deeper needs, it means letting go of your attachment to a particular way of meeting them, right? Like if she was attached to connecting with him as soon as they got home, then, you know, it wouldn't have worked. And vice versa, that, you know, it's about giving up the parts of what you want that aren't as important to you while maintaining the essence of what you both want. That's what a win-win solution looks like. So you have choice and freedom that way. And that really allows you to find that win-win solution instead of telling him what to do. So if he seems to want something different than what you want, one way is to fight about it, and another way is to say, okay, how can we have both? So it's really about embracing your feminine, which is your feelings, your intuition, to come up with those win-win solutions, touching him deeply by how you express your feelings, and then empathizing with his feelings and needs instead of thinking and planning and doing. How to inspire him to do more, which is actually being more authentic with what brings us women true happiness, most of us, and receiving it from him. But there's several things that get in the way of us truly having a partnership mindset where we're honoring our needs and honoring his needs and truly focusing on creating a win-win. And so remember, this is the mindset that really makes men see you as the right partner for him if you're considering that he's going to get what he needs and you're going to get what you need. That really empowers him to be who he wants to be, and knowing that he can also make you happy. But there's several things that get in the way of us having a partnership mindset. And Rhonda's saying, I feel like I'm the one that needs transition time. It's reversed for us. Exactly. And that's why I'm saying these are all generalities. A lot of women also need transition time. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying all women are like this and all men are like that. So thank you for saying that. So that's why the key is tuning into what you need on a deeper level, and feeling our feelings and our deeper needs is being in our feminine, because men are usually focused on what they're doing and what they want to accomplish. And so men can be more in their feminine as well when they're coming up with a inspiring solution by you taking the lead and being in your feminine, and then inspiring him with your feelings, and then asking him what he wants and how you can have both. That's actually a very feminine mindset of collaboration, because competition is more of a masculine mindset. But both men and women have both masculine and feminine energy. I don't want to make it seem like men have all the masculine, women have all the feminine. But the thing is that if you want him to really step up and do more and make more decisions and take more initiative, that's more, then you want him to be more masculine, then you have to inspire him from a more feminine place, because that's what inspires a masculine man. So anyway, we have these blocks that get in the way of having a partnership mindset. And so I want to share them with you, because these are the blocks that I'm going to be addressing for the rest of the webinar. So the block number one is that you assume that you know what he needs. And a lot of us do that. I certainly used to. So this is the inherent mom gene, right? It's sort of female nature. We think we're being helpful. But helpful in our language means critical in his language. And he feels disrespected if we're like sort of, giving him what we think he needs. Because men need to feel autonomous and that he can make his own decisions. And when we assume that you know what he needs, then he feels disrespected and mistrusted. And he might get defensive or even mean, and you feel hurt, and all you're doing is trying to help. So we really need to understand in general how men's needs are different than women's needs in order to even be curious about what's going on for him. We can't assume that he needs the same things that we do. So that's the first mistake to having this partnership mindset. The second block to having a partnership mindset is that we say our needs as demands. And because if we state our needs as like, okay, so you have to do this for me right now, that feels like too much of a burden for him. So what we really need to do is source our own self-love and creativity for how to meet our own needs in many ways. And then paradoxically, this is going to inspire him to want to meet that need when in his timing, which is part of what collaboration is, that you give each other what you both need in a way that works for both of you. So your self-love is the most attractive thing about you. He's going to feel mesmerized and entranced when you radiate self-love. So even if you're feeling sad or scared or hurt, I used to think that if we're feeling these things that we're not feeling love. But once I really learned how to feel love for my sadness and for my fear and for my hurt, then I was able to sort of give myself understanding and empathy and compassion and self-love. And then when I'm radiating this, even if I'm feeling strong feelings and I need him to do things to help me to feel better, if I'm presenting them in a way where I'm meeting my own needs first and then I'm inviting him to meet my needs in a way that works for him, then this motivates him to please you because he can sense you're comfortable with yourself. So then he's going to feel comfortable around you. So I'm going to give you an example of this. So let's say you're upset and you want him to listen to your feelings and comfort you. So if you really know how to comfort and soothe yourself, or if you can get that from your girlfriends, then when you ask him to comfort you, you're not being needy. You're saying, hey, love, I'm really feeling some strong emotions. And I would feel so loved and so taken care of if you listened to me and reassured me for a few minutes. Do you have time for that? And then if he says no, then you won't feel rejected. You'll just ask him when he does have time, and then you'll have other ways of meeting your needs so that when he does have time, you'll be able to fully take in what he's providing for you. So if you're not able to comfort and soothe yourself, then when he says no, you'll feel rejected and get angry, and he'll feel unseen and unappreciated and burdened, and he'll be less likely to be able to listen to you. So is this making sense? So maybe you can remember some examples in your own life of when someone was being demanding with their needs and how you felt. But lots of teachers talk about needing self-love and sourcing our own needs, but who actually teaches us how to do that? So that's why my system includes step-by-step how-tos for how to connect to the source of love, whatever that is in your own experience, and really fill yourself up with creativity and resourcefulness for fulfilling your own needs. And that's the key to expressing your needs in a collaborative way. Because the truth is that we need to really inspire ourselves in order to inspire him. And meeting our own needs is also about self-care. So a lot of times we think that I don't have time, but it really does only take a minute to reconnect to your own pleasure. And I have tons of suggestions that I give to my clients that work for them. So once we're reconnected to our own pleasure, then he can't help but want to give us attention and affection and make us happier because he senses that we're pleaseable, if that makes sense. So that's sort of like coming from an abundance mindset. So the third thing that prevents us from coming from a partnership mindset is our limiting beliefs and patterns. We all have them, and we might not even realize it, but they sabotage us from receiving love. So for example, one client I worked with discovered that she had a belief about not deserving what she wanted. She didn't even realize this was going on. It was operating underneath the surface. So how this would manifest is that she wouldn't ask for things that were important to her because she was scared that if he said no, it would confirm this belief that she didn't deserve it, and then she'd feel hurt, so it's safer not to ask. But then she would kind of let her feelings build up, and then she'd get mad at him for not knowing what she wanted, and so then she would demand what she wanted, and then he'd feel controlled and withdraw, which just confirmed her belief that she didn't deserve it, right? So on the surface, it looked like he didn't want to give her what she wanted, but it was really because she wasn't asking, or she was asking in a demanding way that pushed him away. And so she felt resentful and unsupported. So when we finally identified and shifted the underlying belief that she didn't deserve it, and she learned how to fully receive what she wanted, which felt uncomfortable at first, so we worked through that. Now she said, I got that I was telling myself that I don't deserve it if I don't ask. So now when I ask, it's because I'm telling myself that I do deserve it. And if he's not able to give it to me in that moment, it's okay. I know I deserve it. And when someone says no, I'll trust that I'll get what I need in some other way, or it's an opportunity for me to learn to give that to myself. And I feel validated just because I asked. And because she shifted this belief, she's showing up differently. And so now her husband's giving her more. And he's taking her out on more dates, and he's being more affectionate and doing more around the house. And this is all since she just shifted this belief. So some of us know our limiting beliefs and some of us don't, and they sort of operate underneath the surface, and we have to do the deeper work to identify them and shift them in order to start showing up differently. Like, it's not just about like learning these communication tools and putting them into practice. We really have to look at what's going on a deeper level, shift it at the root. And so the fourth block to a partnership mindset is simply not having role models for this kind of relationship, where you're truly honoring your needs and his needs and how to melt his defensiveness or respond when he's yelling at you in a way that honors him and your boundaries. So it's not our fault that we never really learn the skills. And, you know, transforming conflict into intimacy, no one ever modeled that for us. So how are we going to learn? So I'm going to look at the questions again. Okay, I'm going to answer those at the end because I really want to leave enough time for Q&A in 15 minutes. So before then, is it okay if I share with you my solution to these roadblocks? I would really love to tell you how you can access my entire system to inspire your man's devotion to lasting love, and which I said before is also about inspiring you to lasting love. So I've created a step-by-step program that helps you to identify your and your man's biggest needs, how to fill yourself up with self-love and awaken and radiate magnetic feminine energy, how to navigate any conversation so that your man will feel compelled to listen to you and shower you with attention and affection and fulfill your deepest desires. So this is the Manifest Lasting Love 6-week home study course. The modules are all online and all demand, and you can access them anytime on your phone, on your tablet, on your desktop, whenever it's convenient for you. So I've basically combined the most effective tools and love hacks from mindfulness, somatic experiencing, meditation, nonviolent communication, neurolinguistic programming, and a lot of other emotional healing modalities, and distilled them into a simple formula that you can apply to reconnect to your divine feminine magnetism and wisdom now. So basically, you'll discover all the skills to navigate any state that your man shows up in, whether he's in a bad mood, or you just can't agree, or he hurts your feelings, or if he doesn't keep agreements, or if he doesn't listen. And if you're single or dating, you'll connect to the source of unconditional love and heal old patterns so that you can really know if your man is right for you and feel resourced enough to make the right choices for you and inspire the right man for you to commit to a loving partnership. So all of those skills are in the course. And this is the fastest, easiest way to learn those skills. I really teach you what to do in all of these situations, because no one has taught you these skills, but every woman needs to know them to have the relationship that you really want. And that's your birthright. You deserve that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have such a strong desire for it. So I'm going to go ahead and put up an offer here on the right-hand side of the screen. And you can go ahead and click the link that says learn more, and that might not show up for a while because there's a little bit of a delay, like 30 seconds or so. But it's also on the link that you see on the bottom of the slide. That's coachvaleriegreen.com/ignite. So you can just go to that link and follow along on that page if you want to. Just scroll down to the middle of the page where it shows the picture of the monitor with the little notebook next to it, like you just saw. And then you can follow along with me while I describe the weeks, or you could just keep watching the webinar, either way, or you could open it in a new window, whatever you want, because I'll put them all up on a slide too. I just want to give you the option to go right to the page that talks about the program. But I would love to help you to see what I'm teaching in these 6 weeks, because I've filled this course with the most effective tools that I've learned over the past 12 years about how to transform conflict into intimacy and feel truly adored. So let me take you through the 6 weeks. So in week 1, you really are going to learn how to transform your challenges and access your deepest needs and desires that are underneath your feelings, and how to share those desires in a way that brings him closer rather than pushing him away. Because most of us only know 2 ways of dealing with our emotions, right? Either pushing them under the carpet and pretending everything's fine, especially if we're more spiritual. We want to focus on the positive, but way too often this means suppressing our feelings. Or we speak our mind in a way that winds up pushing him away. So I'll reveal in week 1 the proven practice to transform your feelings into a deeper awareness of what your emotional needs are and how to share your needs in a way that inspires him. You'll also uncover and stop the behaviors that you've been doing that are leading to your relationship feeling distant and frustrating. So we covered it briefly here, but you'll really shed light on what to stop doing immediately to experience more peace immediately. And then really learn how to give your man the number one essential thing that he must have from you on a daily basis. So week 2 is when we really learn how to get your needs met through collaboration and partnership. We really implement this mindset shift that we just talked to, like how to take it and apply it to your needs and his needs. And I really walk you through the process of doing that. And also, we'll bust a myth that love has to come from him, and we'll really experience through different practices a powerful connection to unconditional love that's above and beyond what you've experienced. You know, the only thing that I've heard it compared to is what a mother feels for her child. To really learn how to feel that for yourself, to learn how to connect to self-love no matter how your man is treating you, so that you're fully resourced and fulfilled, and what your man gives you is icing on the cake. Because like I said, it's really about learning how to inspire yourself in order to inspire him. And you'll also learn a powerful practice to shift limiting beliefs and patterns that keep you stuck, so that you start showing up more empowered and joyful. In week 3, we really go deeper and discover your deepest needs from childhood and the unique process for how to finally heal old wounds so that you experience your needs getting met for the rest of your life. So most women never discover these deeper emotional needs, and they remain unsatisfied because they really, we have to go deep to the root, and then we can really transform the old patterns. So clients have told me that this process is worth the entire price of the course. And you also learn how to discover how to align with your man's deepest purpose and empower who he really wants to be. So if your man isn't committing or isn't interested in your needs, this might be the secret ingredient to wake him up to seeing you as absolutely necessary in his life. If he feels more powerful and more successful and more like who he wants to be when he's around you. And I also teach a powerful transformational process that I call self-empathy, that really walks you through how to meet your own emotional need on a deep level and how to fill yourself up on a deep level so that your man will feel compelled to step up and commit to doing the things that make you happy. And we take all of this and create an inspiring vision of love that you can use to keep yourself and your man inspired for a lifetime. So in week 4, we embody our feminine power to feel fulfilled no matter what. So you really learn how to prioritize your pleasure. So this is really drilling down into what you're doing on a daily basis that doesn't have to take that much time, to really prioritize what makes you feel good and have your inner radiance shine out, which is different about radiance is different than the cultural ideas about beauty. And really discover how to embody and express your own unique expression of radiance, no matter what physical imperfections you may think you have, because radiance is so attractive to a man and to yourself. You'll know how to create deep passion and intimacy with your man and receive more love and affection while doing less. So one of my clients, Anne, told me that she was really busy, so I helped her to figure out how to prioritize her pleasure on a daily basis. And she said, it's amazing that when I'm just more relaxed and I show up more happy around him, then he's just wanting to be of service to me without me even asking him to, wanting to get me things and massage me. And he's just really giving towards me. The last few weeks I was busy with work and running around, and he actually vacuumed the apartment, did laundry, and I didn't ask him to do that. I wasn't even expecting it. He even separated the laundry out and folded it. That's unusual for him. She just sent me that after we learned what she learned in week 4, and she really noticed that the more she owned her pleasure and her feminine magnetism, he just stepped up and started doing more. So week 5 is when we really learn how to ask for what your deepest desires are and how to receive them. So how to motivate and inspire him to deeper levels of emotional intimacy and connection. How to really tune into your deeper vulnerability on a deeper level and express that in a way that kind of puts him under your romantic spell so that he really becomes compelled to pleasing you. And my partner tells everyone, this stuff works. I know she's using it on me, but honestly, I love it. And I still feel compelled to please her. And yes, he said that I could say that. How to share any emotion, even anger or worry, in a way that opens his heart and draws him closer to you. So practice communicating this with your friends and family, and watch all your relationships transform and get way more connected. And we'll really go over my 5-step process to ask for what you want in a way that works like magic to inspire him to give it to you. And also how to create boundaries in a loving way so that he feels respected and you feel safe and secure. And in week 6, we really learn how to transform your conflicts into unshakable love. So you're going to learn to have these more challenging conversations, around issues that you've turned into arguments in the past, like things that most couples fight about, like money or parenting or whether you want to have kids or not, or who takes responsibility for what, or if one partner shows up late all the time. You'll really know exactly how to set up the conversation so that he's going to look forward to having it with you, even if he's dreaded it in the past. And how to respond to his possible defensiveness and what to do to melt his defenses so that he'll want to connect with you. How to really transform conflict into deeper intimacy, and then how to negotiate to creatively find those win-win solutions to your toughest issues so that you can experience a lifetime of love and joy and intimacy together. So one of my clients recently said about my conflict resolution process, I love that Valerie doesn't teach about the perfect conflict-free relationship some couples programs offer. She teaches how to utilize conflicts to get close. And it's not just a bunch of formulas to use, but she has a deep and wide-ranging understanding of the dynamics between people and can teach how to navigate those waters with love and honor for everyone's perspective. She understands how challenging things can feel, and she knows that there's ways to get through it and feel better. We used to argue a lot, and now our relationship is feeling better and better. I just asked her to write about what she's gotten and what she might tell someone else about her experience, and that's what she said. So you might be wondering, how much does the Manifest Lasting Love weeks 6-week home study course work? And exactly what does it include and what does it cost, right? So once you sign up, you get immediate access to download all of the materials, and you'll get that for the rest of your life. So you can download them again if you somehow lose them. So it's 6 1 to 2 hour MP3 recordings of each class, 6 ebooks of each of the lessons, a PDF workbook of your home play assignments each week so that you really get step-by-step instructions for how to put these tools into practice. And I ask you questions to reflect on, and I give you specific guided meditations and handouts of the practices and different things to try out each week, and just notice the results of how your man shows up differently. And plus, I'm offering the following bonuses if you sign up now, because these are really useful whether you're dating or in a committed partnership. So the first bonus is a bonus class for singles, how to inspire him that you're the one in the first few months of dating. So this is everything that you need to know to apply what you'll learn in the rest of this course to the beginning of the relationship. Because the mindset for the first few months is slightly different from the mindset after a man has made an emotional commitment to you. So in this bonus class, you'll learn how to inspire the right man for you to step up and make that emotional commitment. And if he's not right for you, you'll feel resourced and empowered to attract a man who is. And for women that are in committed relationships, the bonus class is why men pull away and what to do about it. because all men pull away, and most women don't know the true reason why. So they feel powerless and insecure. So I really teach about the scientific and psychological reasons why men pull away, so you can stop taking it personally and start being more resource sourced and learn how to respond to him in a way that melts his defenses and really inspires him that he doesn't need as much space over time. And for the first 21 people that show up, I'm also offering the Coaching from Spirit Institute's Empowered Manifest Your Home Study course, which is a whole nother home study course. That's also 6 60-minute teleclasses and a Power Plaque playbook. And you're really going to learn how to use spiritual energy to attract what you really want in your life, both prosperity-wise, health-wise, and in your relationships, which is very compatible with all of the things that I'm teaching, just how to apply it to manifesting anything in your life. So you might be wondering, how much does a program like this cost? Because it is so much value, and normally it's $197, but I'm making it available for a limited time for only $97. And that's just because so many women that I've worked with have said that they wish that their girlfriends could have access to this information in an introductory no-brainer offer, because they really needed to learn what was helping my clients transform their relationships, and they wanted to let their friends who might not be able to afford coaching have access to this transformational information. And so I want to offer this at a price that anyone can afford. And I'm so excited because I think that this is a really amazing opportunity when you think about everything that's included, plus how much money you're saving on hiring a coach. So I'm also making this a no-brainer because I'm so confident that you'll be more than satisfied with this program. But if you're not for any reason, I'm offering a 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. So all you need to do is email me, and there's no risk to you. So because I've been doing this for 12 years and working with thousands of people, I know a thing or two about how people decide to take advantage of a no-brainer opportunity like this. So you can see on this slide everything that's included and how much value you're getting and how low the price is, and I've eliminated all the risk. But you might be wondering, how do I know this is going to work for me? Well, this course worked for me if my husband is the one with the issue. So if your husband or boyfriend is the one who's controlling you, or if he has a mental health problem, like he has depression or he's narcissistic, what we see is that none of these things will prevent you from gaining back the love and intimacy that you shared with him in the beginning. So once you start practicing these skills, you can get back the man that you married or that you fell in love with, because there's good qualities in him that you can learn to inspire back out. So maybe you'll have a story like Lucy, whose husband is now taking her on romantic getaways and helping her with the housework. Or maybe you'll be like my client Angela, whose boyfriend recently told her that it's conversations like the one she learned in week 6 that are inspiring him to want to move in together. And if you're single or dating, you'll learn how to take back your own power, your own pleasure, or radiate self-love so that you'll know what's really right for you. And you'll learn how to tune into what your man needs in order to give you what you need, and how to inspire the right man for you. And if he's not the right man, the tools and practices will help you be resourced enough to attract a man who is right for you. Because you really need a blueprint to buy anything, right? I mean, it takes a plan to wire long-term change in how we're relating, because we're creatures of habit, right? So very few people actually follow a consistent plan for how to make the changes they want to make in their relationships. So as a special bonus for the first 15 people who purchase the course, and you can just go to the link at the bottom of the slide, coachvaleriegreen.com/ignite to sign up. And if you're one of the first 15 people, then I'm offering a free one-on-one back to love strategy session with me, where we'll get on the phone or Skype for 90 minutes and identify your unique situation. what might be holding you back from having the relationship of your dreams, and leave with a plan for how to get there and how to customize this course to your unique situation. So these sessions are valued at $150, but I'm offering them for free to all of you for showing up. And for the first 15 people who purchase the program, then I can make time for you on my calendar this month, because I only have 15 slots on my calendar open this month. So if you're one of the first 15 people that sign up, then you get to talk to me this month about how to apply this to your relationship. So registration is easy. Just click the link at the right if you see it, or if you're watching the replay, or if you can just see it on the slides, then go to the link on the bottom, which is coachvaleriegreen.com/ignite, to purchase the program. And I would like you to think about, I'm just going to get to questions in a few minutes, but before I do, I'd just like you to think about, what is the struggle costing you? So go ahead and just write that down. What is it costing you to have your relationship feel disconnected or not feeling loved? Is it costing you joy or your health maybe? Because when we feel disconnected, that actually lowers our immunity. Or how about money? What's it costing you to be in a relationship that feels unloving? Are you maybe buying things to make yourself feel better or to soothe your loneliness? Or maybe you're spending the money on therapy. And this program is a more fun, inexpensive way to feel connected to your man. And we all know the cost of divorce, right? And that's where most struggling couples end up. So year after year, I hear from so many women who's frustrated, and they all strive for better communication or better boundaries, but those changes only happen with consistent practice. So that's why the Manifest Lasting Love 6-week home study course is a no-brainer, because it can really lead to your relationship transforming. So the way I see it, you have a choice, right? You can keep going on with the status quo, and that means that this year will probably look a lot like last year, and, with not much different, and you might still be struggling. But I don't think that you would still be here right now if that was okay with you. Or you could stumble along and read my blogs or other people's, or go to free trainings and kind of go at it on your own. Or you can invest in a comprehensive and proven system with a step-by-step plan to transform your love life. So this course is all online, so you can access it anytime you want to and listen to the audios while you're cleaning or communicating. I mean, or commuting. Oh, not when you're communicating. You want to really be present then. So I just want you to think for a minute, what do you want for Valentine's Day? That your relationship was more passionate, that your man respected you more, that you feel more adored? And what would you like your relationship to look like 10 years from now? Are you going to be okay with the way things are now? Or are you going to create the relationship that you want by really taking consistent action? Do you want him to glance across the room, and make you feel desired? Or do you want him to hold your hand while you're out together on romantic dates? Or if you're dating, do you really wish he would get down on one knee and profess his commitment to making you happy? So this can be your reality this year and for the rest of your life. So just click the link at the bottom, coachvaleriegreen.com/ignite, to make your relationship wonderful again, or to attract lasting love. And I just want to thank you for joining me on this webinar, because I just am so passionate about helping people transform their relationships. It's my deepest privilege. And it's really because of you that I get that privilege. So just click the link to make your relationship wonderful again and to say yes to yourself. Let's get you feeling wanted and beautiful and knowing that you're loved. There's just so much inner strength that comes from having a secure, loving partnership, and I want that for you. So I'm just so excited to support you and in any way that I can. So now I want to open this up to Q&A. And I just can't wait to hear about the transformation that you experience in your life when you apply any of these tools. I just love hearing people's stories of transformation. So I'm going to now stop sharing the slides and go to Q&A. Hi, everyone. So I would love for you to have an opportunity to ask me any questions that you want to for the last half hour. And I'm happy to answer questions about the course or about anything that you've learned so far or anything that you want me to give you my advice on in your relationship. To tell me as much as you can in the chat, of course. And then I also invite you to apply for a free one-on-one strategy session if you are committed to making changes in your relationship and you really want a plan to help you to do that. Okay, so I'm going to look at some of the questions that you shared so far. Anne says, my boyfriend will live with us for weeks at a time and attaches to me and my daughters, and then he will disappear back to his apartment 30 minutes away for weeks at a time. And yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that men do. And so men really do need space and they need to feel like they're autonomous. And I imagine that that drives you crazy because you don't want your daughters to connect with him emotionally and then feel abandoned. And I'm sure you probably feel that way too. So, I mean, I would want to talk to you more one-on-one about this because I just want to sort of present this in a context, and then feel free to share more with me in the chat if you want to chat with me about this. I have all kinds of questions though about how long you've been dating, if he's been doing this since the beginning, if you've gotten any insights on this webinar about how you might be contributing, or if you know that this is how he's been in the past. But I mean, one thing that I recommend for women that are just dating a man and have kids is, because kids are involved, you don't want them to get too emotionally attached to the man in your life before he's made a deeper emotional commitment, because kids are a lot more sensitive to feeling abandoned. So I might advise you in that case to create stronger boundaries between him and your kids, but I don't know the situation that's going on, so I'm not going to give you blanket advice without knowing more about your situation. But what I would say, I mean, what I would ask you is if you learn anything in this webinar that sheds a little bit of insight into things that he might be vulnerable or sensitive to about feeling made wrong, or about, you know, not feeling autonomous, or things that he might be scared of that we can help to address, and how you've been sharing about what your needs are, because it sounds like what you want is for him to be more consistent with how he's showing up with you. And so my question around that would be, how would you, you know, say that in an inspiring way to him so that he would really get why it's important to you, and how could you have a collaborative conversation around that so that he really gets the effect that his disappearing is having on, you know, your emotions and probably the emotions of your daughters, and, you know, how he might be able to collaborate with you on how to have you and them feel more secure. But I would really need to know more about your situation first. So I encourage you to reach out to me and schedule a one-on-one strategy session, or just share a little bit more in the chat box, and then we can interact a little bit more about it. But thank you for sharing that. So Pepe, I think that's your name. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. This scenario is mine. And were you talking about the transition time example? I'm not sure. But feel free to ask me any questions, and you're also welcome to email me questions at valerie@coachvaleriegreen.com. If you have a question that you don't want me to share in front of the general public, I totally understand that. But I can go ahead and bring up some questions that I've received from people over email. If people don't have any questions for me right now, feel free to type them into the chat box. But I actually have some questions that people asked me over email. So, okay. One woman asked, she has an issue around money. This is something that I see a lot. She says, what happens when I make more than my husband and he's feeling emasculated? And that's a really big issue that I see happening with a lot of women out there. Now, I don't know more about her situation either, but I'm just going to sort of present that dynamic. Because I do look at it like men and women are equals in a relationship. I don't think that, feminine does not mean being subservient. But it is really important that we avoid a feeling of power differentiation. If the woman makes more than the man, or even if the man makes more than the woman, how are you going to set that up so that you don't feel like one person has power over, let's say, what you buy or don't buy, that it doesn't become a power struggle? And so what I imagine she's saying then, if she's having a problem with making more than him, does he feel inadequate because of that? And what can she do to allay that concern? So it's just really important then that she does let him step up and be in a more masculine role with the things he wants to be in. So, what does he want to have authority on? Like, does he want to um, sit down and have that kind of collaborative conversation with you about how you both budget the money? Or does he want the autonomy to be the one paying the bills and having you trust him to take care of it? Or does he want to be the one who's taking responsibility for what his part of the chores are and not having you telling him what to do? So it's like really important that he doesn't feel emasculated by how you're treating him, because I've seen it work where women make more money than men and they don't feel emasculated. So there's something else going on in the dynamic where he's not feeling empowered to have the autonomy that he needs to make the decisions that are really his, if that makes sense. So Ingrid is asking, how do you figure out what your needs and his needs are for those that have little relationship experience? Well, that's a great question. And that is something that I spend a lot of time teaching in the Manifest Lasting Love 6-week home study course. So I encourage you to check out the course. And then if you still feel like you don't understand what your needs are, then you can schedule that free one-on-one session with me to be able to have me guide you deeper. But I'll talk a little bit about that, because basically I have a whole cheat sheet of emotional needs that we all have. I'll kind of, bring it up here and show it to you, la la la. But I'm not going to make you read it. If you want, I can just email you that cheat sheet if you really can't afford to spend the $97 on the program. But in the program, I guide you in how to identify your needs. And I guide you through a meditation, a 3-step meditation that really allows you to feel your feelings, inquire about your emotional needs, look on the cheat sheet, and then spend time in a self-inquiry process, really diving deeper into what that need provides for you, what it looks like and feels like to have it met, when you have gotten it met in your life, and how you felt differently when it has been met. And in week 3, we actually go all the way back to our childhood. And it's not to be a therapist. I do take the process from imago therapy, if you're familiar with it, to discover the needs that weren't met in childhood, because those are usually underneath our deepest triggers. So if you're really upset about something that he does and you're not sure why you're so upset, it's probably some need that wasn't met in childhood. And I teach it in a paradigm of, once you identify those needs, now you're not a child anymore. So you can learn how to really, first of all, give those needs to yourself. And I have another process that I teach called self-empathy, where you really learn how to source your emotional needs from yourself. Although that's not enough, because we all need those things from a partner, but it's sort of half the process. Because when you're able to access that self-love and that self-compassion, then you feel like you're not needy, even though you have needs. Because that was, one of the blocks I mentioned in being collaborative. It's like, when we present our needs in a demanding way, it's going to land with him like a burden. But if you're able to feel that self-compassion, self-empathy, source your own needs, like giving yourself compassion and empathy and validation and sourcing those needs from other areas of your life, then when you ask him, you're going to ask him in an inviting way, and then he's going to feel compelled to want to make you happy since you're radiating self-love. And so the way that I teach identifying your needs is in a very empowered adult way, where you're not spending years analyzing, why those needs didn't get met when you were a child. You're really learning how to now meet them in your adult life, both from yourself and your friends and your community and, other areas of your life. And I give a lot of examples in the course of how I've done that and how other women that I've worked with have done that. And then how they've been able to step up and inspire their partner to meet those needs now that you're an adult and you have control over how you get your needs met. And it's such an empowering process. So I hope that answers your question, that I give this whole cheat sheet and processes to really discover what your needs are. So thanks so much, Ingrid, for asking that question. But I'm happy to stay here until 10 o'clock Eastern time. Probably some of you, it's earlier or later because I'm in New York City here. I'm happy to just go into more of those examples if you want to. People are welcome to ask more questions. I love your questions. I love answering questions. And I also encourage you to just look at that page, coachvaleriegreen.com/ignite. And you're welcome to ask me any questions about the course itself, because it is an audio course and I did record all of it myself. So I have very intimate knowledge about what's in the course. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Until then, I'm happy to speak more about this process of self-empathy, because I really feel like it is so transformational. I do have a little testimonial that a client of mine shared about self-empathy. You might know more of, you might have more of an experience of what it's like if I share this with you. She said, I'll just read this. This is something she emailed me. She said, "I'm proud I used self-compassion this morning instead of continuing to try to communicate. I remembered how you taught if I was feeling resentful, then it's a time for self-compassion and not communication. I automatically shifted to be able to see where his trigger happened and to give myself more compassion because I saw what it was that I did that triggered him. And I understood why he was being like that. And I didn't feel that I needed to get anything from him anymore because I stopped taking it personally. I was able to feel love and appreciation for myself and him and then express it. And he ended up coming to me and giving me a big hug. Yum! Finally, he explained to himself as he hugged me, which he's done before when he follows up an argument with giving me a hug. You're just looking for attention, in a really loving way. And then we felt connected again. So that's how she put the self-empathy process into practice in her life. I know one example that I share in the course. I'll just keep talking while people are still here. And unless, in case you're shy and you want to ask questions. Because there's so many emotional needs that we have. And once you identify them and you can detach from a particular strategy of meeting them, that just opens up so much more choice and freedom. And I remember when I first started dating my current partner, I was feeling insecure because I wanted a committed relationship and he wasn't sure that's what he wanted. And this is a long time ago, of course, but I was feeling very insecure, and I put this self-empathy process into practice, and I really identified what was my deeper need that I was longing for. When I really feel my feelings, I close my eyes, as you can see, because I'm just remembering the experience. And I I identified that I wanted to feel belonging. Like I really wanted to belong with and to someone. It was such a deep longing in me, and I actually got really vulnerable with myself, and I gave myself compassion for that feeling. And then I asked myself, okay, so how can I source that feeling of belonging even though I feel like I don't have anyone that I belong to yet? I can't put that on him, right? So I just started to get creative, and this is part of what being in your feminine is, just sourcing your creativity and your intuition for how to get your needs met. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't need to belong in a relationship, of course. I'm not saying that we meet our own needs instead of meeting them by our partner. It's just that we don't put them on our partner. That's how we can be more inspiring. So, what I actually did was I just kind of got in tune with what belonging meant to me. And I remembered times that I belonged to people in the past. I, felt like I belonged to my family, and then I just realized that I can feel belonging in many different ways. So I actually noticed that, like, I'm in my apartment and I'm paying the rent here, and I belong here. But wasn't just a mental understanding. Self-empathy is really taking in the experience of what it feels like to have this need met. I was really feeling that I belong in my apartment. I know that it sounds silly, but that really did help me to source that feeling of that need getting met. And then I just started a practice of saying that everywhere I went that day. I was like, with a friend, and I was like, I belong with this friend, and like I belong in the United States because I'm a citizen here, and I belong. I went out to a dance class that day, and I just affirmed that, like, I belong with this group of people because we're all doing this dance practice together. And I was really just affirming that, and I just felt that that need was being met. And so I was sourcing that need being met myself, and then I could express it to him in an inspiring way without, like, pushing it on him. Because if I wasn't meeting that need myself, then I might have said something to him like, where's this relationship going? Because I really need to belong somewhere. I don't feel like I belong. And then I would be coming from lack. And he would hear it in my voice, and he would feel burdened. And that would cause him to want to pull away. Um, or what actually wound up happening was then I just got vulnerable with him, and I shared with him my experience. I shared with him, what happened that day and how I did that affirmation and went to the dance class and affirmed that. And he felt so touched and moved and inspired by that then, he was like, "Oh, I feel so touched." And it's part of what motivated him to want to make a deeper commitment to me, because he just felt touched by how I was inspiring him with my feelings and my desires, because I wasn't putting them on him. If that makes sense. So I hope that, I mean, that's kind of a weird example, but it's one that came to mind in terms of sourcing our own needs. There's a lot of other examples that I share in the course, but I wanted to share an example that anyone can relate to, because there's times when your partner isn't available to give you things like attention or affection or support or companionship or partnership or closeness, which are some of the needs. And when we learn to meet them ourselves, then we can express them to him in a vulnerable way and inspire him. So that's the basis of what you learn in this webinar. And of course, I go more in depth in the 6-week home study course on how to do that, how to really put this into practice. And you'll get the cheat sheet of all the needs and tons of tools and processes for how to really get resourced and meet your own needs so that you can inspire him in a more, in that mesmerizing way. Because, if I share with him, like, look at the process I just did to meet my own needs, and, he just sees me as being adorable when I do that. And of course, that doesn't make him go, oh, okay, you're meeting all your own needs, I don't have to. No, it's like, when a man sees the woman has this need and she's presenting it in this alluring way, then he's motivated to step up and want to meet more of her needs. So anyway, I wanted to share an example that would be relevant to both singles and people in committed partnerships. And like I said, I share tons more examples in the course, but it is 10 o'clock. So unless anyone else has any burning questions, then I'm going to end the webinar. So I want to encourage you to check out the page where I explain all about the Manifest Lasting Love 6-week home study course. And that is coachvaleriegreen.com/ignite. And I just encourage you to check out that page. And there is a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you're not risking anything by checking it out and downloading the audios. And I just want you to think about what is having a loving relationship really worth to you? You know, what do you want your relationship to look like in 10 years? And do you want it to be loving and passionate and full of, you know, you feeling loved and adored and cherished and supported? And of course you do, or you wouldn't be here. And if I can have that, and if my clients can have that, then you can have that too. So I really just want to leave you with that inspiration. And you can either check out my course or email me at valerie@coachvaleriegreen.com. And I am offering everyone who's watching this a free Back to Love strategy session with me. And that's a 90 minutes with me where you really get insight on what's going on in your relationship and come up with a plan on how you can transform it. And that's totally free of charge because I just love inspiring people. And if I can support you further, that's wonderful. And it's my deepest privilege because I only get to do what I do because of you. So thank you so much for spending these 2 hours with me. And I just hope you got tons out of it. And feel free to email me what you got out of it too. So I wish you all the best. And I hope to keep connecting with you and that you can really inspire your man the way that I have and my clients have, because I know that it's possible for you. So I wish you all the best. Mwah.